the name of Almighty Allah, the most merciful. In our first part, we have discussed Regulation 27 of corporate governance regulations, which are now, in fact, which are promulgated, and Securities and Exchange Commission of Pakistan has adopted comply or explain approach for these regulations. Most of the regulations, especially if I look at Regulation 27, which deals with the audit committee, and this is the part of chapter 9. This chapter in our regulations, corporate governance regulations, deals with committees of the board. And one of the most important committee is, of course, audit committee. In sub-regulation 1, we have discussed the composition of this committee, the criteria or the qualification of its members. In sub-regulation 2, we have discussed that it is compulsory, a certain number of meetings is given, and it is compulsory that in compliance actually the companies should hold, especially for the audit committee, these number of meetings must be held. Then we discussed in our first part that there are certain provisions or commonly known as provisos given in Regulation 27, and there are certain restrictions or there are certain bars given. So these were, for instance, we have discussed that chief financial officer cannot become the head of audit committee, because that may cause the conflict of interest. So these provisions we have discussed, we have studied. And now we'd like to move on in this second part, certain other aspects of audit committee. Let me invite Mr. Ali Mannan to share this sub-regulation 3, which starts, it is mandatory that the board of every company shall determine the terms of reference of the audit committee. So this TOR has to be given to the audit committee, that under the purview of the certain terms of reference, the audit committee will work. Mr. Mannan, Mr. Ali Mannan, please share sub-regulation 4 with the participants.
So shall I read it?
Yes, please.
It is mandatory that the board shall provide adequate resources and authority to enable the audit committee to carry out its responsibilities effectively, and the terms of reference of the audit committee shall be explicitly documented, which shall also include the following.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ali Manan. Now we can look at this sub-regulation 4 of Regulation 27 of Corporate Governance Regulations. This is really important that for the audit committee, this is the duty of Board of Directors to provide an enabling environment for the audit committee to function. It must be equipped with the resources required to function or to deliver the duties actually, or to fulfill the duties. And this is the duty of the Board of Directors to provide those resources to the audit committee. Now, the term of reference or TORs is a very important part of this regulation. And we will look at this, that a complete list is given. And the best part is that this is not, though it's very comprehensive list of duties, but this is not exhaustive. This is not the only, these are not the only areas in which the audit committee is supposed to perform its duties, but it can be further added, especially if we look at the start of this point, we will find that it is mandatory that the board shall provide adequate resources and authority to enable the audit committee to carry out its responsibilities effectively. And the terms of reference of the audit committee shall be explicitly documented, which shall also include the following. Now, this term of reference, these are just few points actually given, and this is not the exhaustive one. I mean, even certain other TORs can be added. Let me invite Ms. Hira Nadeem to share this list actually of duties with the participants.
Yes, sir. Determination of appropriate measures to safeguard the company's assets of annual and interim financial statements of the company prior to their approval by the board, focusing on A. Major judgmental areas, B. Significant adjustments resulting from the audit, C. Going concern assumption, D. Any changes in accounting policies and practices. E. Compliance with applicable accounting standards. F. Compliance with these um, regulations and other statutory and regulatory requirements, and G, all related party transactions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Benail Amir. And here we got to know that, especially with specific reference, these 7 areas are earmarked in the terms of reference. And if we look at this, in fact, this list actually, it starts with the determination of appropriate measures to safeguard the company's assets. So this is one of the vital aspect which needs to be borne in mind, and review of annual and interim financial statements of the company prior to their approval by the board, focusing on. Now, this A to G, these 7 areas, that the financial statements of the company, as we know, that in corporate sector, the financial statement of the company plays a key role for for the growth of the company. If financial statement reflects EPS on a higher side, the earning per share of a company is on a higher side. Of course, people will invest in that company, and resultantly, that company will flourish. So that financial statement, whether that is annual or interim, that has to be reviewed by the audit committee. And this is not, in fact, unfettered powers, or these are not the powers which are not, you see, calculated. There is a very clear-cut terms of reference are given. And if we look at this, that before submission of financial statement to the board of directors for the approval, the audit committee has to look into areas which are 7 in number, starting from A to G. I'd like to request Ms. Menail once again to read A to G once again for the participants. Ms. Menail, please.
Yes, sir. Major judgmental areas, B. Significant adjustments resulting from the audit, C. Going concern assumption, D. Any changes in accounting policies and practices, E. Compliance with applicable accounting standards, F. Compliance with these regulations and other statutory and regulatory requirements, and G. All related party transactions.
Absolutely right. So these are the TORs initially, or this is the first area where the audit committee will look into, and keeping in view this yardstick, or keeping in view this, in fact, scale, standard scale, they will make sure that all these 7 areas are catered in the financial statement before submitting the same to the board of directors for the approval. Now, we will look at the second key aspect of this TORs, and that deals with the review of preliminary announcements of results prior to external communication and publication. So these are the certain further aspects. And let me invite another member of our class to do the reading for the classmates. Mr. Raza Rahman, would you like to share this aspect with the class?
Sir, from number 3.
Yes, of course.
Uh, a review of preliminary announcements of results prior to external communication and publication. Number four, facilitating the external audit and discussion with external auditors of major observations arising from interim and final audits and any matter that the
Yes, please. Any matter that.
auditors may wish to highlight in the absence of management where necessary. Number five, review of management letter issued by external auditors and management's response thereto. Number six,
Thank you. Thank
ensuring.
you. Thank you very much, Mr. Raza Rahman. So these are the certain areas Mr. Raza has shared and which are in fact the key areas regarding that financial statement. Now from ensuring coordination between the internal and external auditors of the company. Now this highlighted point that this is also one of the term of reference of the audit committee, that they must ensure that there is an accurate coordination between the auditors who are appointed by the company to conduct the internal audit and in those external auditors which are assigned the duties to oversee the audit conducted by the internal auditors. So this coordination is also the part and parcel of the audit committee. Now, from this point, let me invite another classmate, Miss Aisha Zafar, to do the reading of the next TORs. Yes, Miss Aisha Zafar.
Sir, from point 7,
Yes, from point 7.
review of the scope and extent of internal audit, audit plan, reporting framework and procedures, and ensuring that the internal audit function has adequate resources and is appropriately placed within the company. Point 8, consideration of major findings of internal investigations of activities characterized by fraud, corruption, and abuse of power, and management's response thereto. 9. Ascertaining that the internal control systems, including financial and operational controls, accounting systems for timely and appropriate recording of purchases and sales, receipts and payments, assets and liabilities, and the reporting structure are adequate and effective.
That's right. So thank you very much, Ms. Aisha Zafar, for sharing these TORs with the classmates. And here we got to know that the audit committee's role appears to be the most significant. And this is why, there is a bar that chief financial officer should not become the member of this committee, just to make sure that the functioning of the company is transparent, and that is to yield the profits for the company, benefits for the stakeholders, and for the compliance of the law, actually, the enabling regulations. Now the next point I'd like to share, and that is review of the company's statement on internal control systems prior to endorsement by the board and internal audit reports. This is one of the aspect, and as I said earlier, that if it is the financial statement or if it is the company's statement in terms of internal control systems, the audit committee will go through the very report, will look into the different aspects prior to its submission to the board of directors. Now here we move on to the point number 11, and this in fact the point from the terms of reference we will discuss and see that what's it all about. Instituting special projects, value of money studies or other investigations on any matter specified by the board in consultation with the chief executive officer, and to consider a remittance of any matter to the external auditors or to any other external body. Now, looking into this matter, that if there is any special project the company intends to undertake, this is again within the purview of audit committee to look into this aspect. Let me invite another classmate. She will share another aspect of this role of audit committee. Ms. Afshan Sarfaraz, would you like to share point number 11 with the classmates?
Yes, sir. Instituting special projects, value for money studies or other investigations or any matter specified by board in consultation with the chief executive officer, and to and to consider remittance of any matter to the external auditor for to any other external body. Point number 12, determination of compliance with relevant statutory requirements. Point number 13, monitor compliance with these regulations and identifications of significant violations thereof. Review of arrangement for staff and management to report to audit committee in confidence concerns, if any, about actual or potential improprieties in financial and other matters, and recommended instituting remedial and mitigating measures.
That's right.
Recommended to the board. Should I continue, sir?
Yes, please. Recommend to the board. Yes.
Recommend to the board the appointment of external auditors, their removal, audit fees, the provision of any service permissible to be rendered to the company by external auditors, in addition to audit of its financial statements, measures for redressal and rectification of non-compliances with the regulations. The board shall give due consideration to the recommendations of the audit committee, and where it acts otherwise, it shall record the reasons thereof. Considerations of any other issue or matter as may be assigned by the board.
Absolutely right. So now look at this. As I said earlier, that this list is not exhaustive. This list actually has enumerated number of TORs which are relevant or which are of the primary nature. But this last point, number 16, clarifies one thing. As I said earlier, that though this list is very comprehensive, but this is not exhaustive. So this is the purview of the audit committee, that it should consider any other issue or matter as may be assigned by the board. So even if other than the TORs which are already given, and this list is very comprehensive, still if there is any area that board of directors is of the view that audit committee must look into this, then of course that is the duty of the audit committee to look into that area as well. Point number 5 we have, that is in fact sub-regulation 5 of regulation 27, which deals with the audit committee. It is mandatory that the secretary of audit committee shall circulate minutes of meetings of the audit committee to all members, directors, head of internal audit, and where required to chief financial officer prior to the next meeting of the board. Of course, to make everybody aware that what is happening and to keep everybody well abreast with the functioning. Of course, this is mandatory. It is compulsory that audit committee's minutes of the meeting shall be circulated among the members and all the key personnels of the company. Now, this proviso is given here, provided that where this is not practicable, the chairman of the audit committee shall communicate a synopsis of the proceedings to the board, and the minutes shall be circulated along with the minutes of the meeting of the board. So, well, this proviso or this exemption is given here. So, with these points, let's conclude our today's session. And this is very important to note that we have discussed different areas which comes in the purview of audit committee, and their compliance is necessary in order to fulfill the legal requirement of compliance approach which is given in corporate governance regulations. So with these words, thank you very much for your participation.